Hello, everyone, and welcome to episode 5 of Gemini Exchange. This episode is entitled The Importance of Keeping Ritual in a World Ruled by Modernity. But before we get into that, I know Desi wanted to start off with challenges and
and
some.
and celebrations. So before we go get into the episode, I know you and I just usually chat because it's like also I have been keeping things from you, not because I wanted to keep it from you, but I wanted to surprise you. So I'm like, I
Okay,
didn't want to shoot you a text and be like, guess what? But before we start the episode, um,
very intrigued to see what you have to say, what you've been keeping.
you're like, actually forget this challenges and celebrations thing, just tell me. Um, no, I wanted to say, so in my applied educational neuroscience class, I know that I always talk about this. By the time that this episode is out, guys, I'm gonna be done with the class, but I will keep referencing it. But Dr. Lori, our professor, before we start a class, we talk about, she invites us to talk about any celebrations or challenges that are on our hearts, just to kind of like open up a conversation as well. So not only is this for Joe and I, but for the listener to reflect on any experiences in their life, like, oh, what are these challenges that are weighing on my heart that maybe I need to communicate with somebody? Or what are some celebrations that I haven't celebrated? So, Joe, any celebrations or challenges
Um,
recently?
I'll start off with challenges. So I caught COVID last weekend and it was terrible. And I'm so upset that I broke my streak of going. I've never had COVID before, like all throughout the pandemic, all of that. Like I've never caught COVID. And randomly, I have no idea where I caught it. So that sucked. And then I accidentally gave it to my boyfriend, even though we did take precautions. He caught it this last weekend, but he had it very mild. I was like literally in the trenches, like just it was terrible. I was in bed basically unconscious for like 3 whole days and he just had a runny nose. And yeah, so that was a challenge, I will say. In terms of celebration, um I will say that one thing that I'm really excited about is I actually signed up for this like 4-week workshop for pole classes, and I'm like just so happy because I've definitely looked into it before, but I always like end up looking at it when it's like midway through, so I'd have to wait for like the next cycle. But I checked it out like last night and then I signed up this morning, so I'm so excited to get back into that. And just add just like a variety of like movement into like my practice, so that's really exciting for me. But I think that's pretty much it. What about you, Dizzy? What's
Wait.
what?
Wait, hold on. I was gonna say, do you plan on putting a pole in like the middle of your living room of your
I
apartment?
literally, you can't see it, but there is one right here.
Oh,
There's literally one right behind me, guys.
oh my
Wait,
God.
I can like if I the green screen will.
I think you should go on it and just with the green screen in the background. Oh, I love that. I love that.
Yes, I do have a pull up. I will say that I have not been practicing, just especially since like my classes have started.
Mhm.
Because normally when I get home, it's like I immediately start working on dinner, or like I do yoga, or like I just have a whole bunch of like chores and stuff to do. So I am excited to kind of like introduce that movement again into my practice.
No, yeah, that's really important. I think last time I did pull, I had like bruises on my legs, and I don't know if it makes sense or if it makes a difference if you also have hair on your legs, but I felt those things getting caught on the pole. And the next morning I woke up, I was like, what grabbed my legs in my sleep like that? You know what I mean? But that's a lot of core strength too. A lot of
Yeah,
core, like upper body strength for pole.
yeah. I was
So
like reflecting. It was like back when I like got super ripped, like during pandemic times. It was like when I started doing pole. I would take like maybe 1 or 2 classes a week, and like that just like really wow. And I think also just because I think it allows me to connect more with my feminine sensual energy, which I do want to introduce more like of in my life. But
mhm.
I just feel like I've been in such like kind of like Capricorn mode of working at my goals, really focusing on like the material physical realm of like, all right, like I'm gonna go work out, I'm gonna go like finish all like my homework for my classes, I'm gonna go like make a healthy dinner, I'm gonna go like walk my dogs a mile outside, like just really like focus on the practical kind of like energy versus like the more feminine energy of like, let me just be in flow. Let me just like go around my living room dancing sensually.
Exactly. And that honestly, that was going to be one of the my challenges that I was going to be bringing up because it's really all about that balance. But also pole, like I love how I mean, I've tried pole a few times and I like it and I have a lot of respect for it, but whenever I do, I'm like I feel I don't know if it's me that I'm like I don't feel connected to pole specifically, but I love aerial silks.
Hmm.
And I
I've
was like,
actually taken an aerial silks class. I That's something that I would like to try out.
"Ooh, okay. When you're down here, I know somebody that can. One of my friends could teach aerial silks." So I'm like it's so much fun. Like I felt like my friend commented was like Spider-Man. I was like, I kind of felt like Spider-Man and a fairy at the same time.
Mm.
But as far as challenges, or I'm gonna start off with a celebration actually. And this is something that I messaged you as well. I had a meditation about 2 weeks ago when we were supposed to record and then you caught COVID. But but the night before I was really kind of struggling because I was in hustle mode. I was constantly on the go. And I remember lighting my candle and talking to God, like talking to spirit. And I was like, I can't keep doing this to myself. I can't keep doing this because I'm not experiencing life and I'm losing touch with not what's real, but with my inner self, if that makes sense. And I feel that that is something that happens when we're constantly in hustle mode. Sometimes you lose touch with kind of with what's important. And
Yeah.
so the next morning, I was like, screw it. I'm gonna go outside and I'm gonna go ahead and meditate. And for the first 5 minutes, I was really struggling because my mind was running, like so many things were going through my mind.
Mhm.
But around the 5 minute mark, I was able to really just sit back and observe my thoughts. And then all of a sudden, a flood of childhood memories started coming through. And after my meditation, when I was able to reflect and look back on it, they were memories that made me feel alive. And I realized in that moment, I lost my spark. And I was so focused on the material world of what I was creating because I had all this creative energy, but I wasn't also allowing myself to rest. And this is the surprise. So that's when I texted you, was like, oh, rest is resistance. And we literally talked about it. So I went, oh, you can't see it. I went to Barnes and Nobles
And
this
you got
and I
the
got the book. I got the book. I got the book. I have yet to read it yet because I've been reading another book that my friend Saray got me, and I really love it. It's called The Complete Conversations with God and Uncommon Dialogue. And it's kind of like automatic writing, you know, when you get into a meditative state and you ask a question and then answers will start coming to you. It's basically this dude's conversation. His name is Neil Donald Walsh, and receiving answers from his interpretation of receiving answers from God or from his inner knowing.
Okay.
So after my meditation, I journaled because it was like I needed to write down what it was that I was feeling. And so I wanted to share a few sentences of what I wrote.
Okay.
So I have the simple act of self-love opened my mind again that had been closed for some time. I had to reconnect with myself, the silence, to find the answer I was looking for. I was getting caught up in the material world of what I was creating that I did not have the proper balance of silence and action. Within 10 minutes, everything made sense. It clicked. I had found my answer. I was grateful to rest, to reflect, to enjoy the simplicity of it all, something I recognized before but had forgotten. Fond memories returning, enjoying the silence, the stillness of my being, which leads to the challenges. The challenges, or the challenge that I was experiencing was, although I was having all this gratitude and abundance and creative energy, I wasn't allowing myself to rest.
Mhm.
And I always knew that rest was important, but it was a matter of like, okay, you need to have that balance, or it's important to have that balance. And so that was a challenge that I experienced, and then eventually like leading to burnout. It's so important to have that balance, and two things can exist at once. So
Yeah.
that probably will eventually like lead into rituals as well.
Mhm.
But those were my challenges and celebrations.
Okay, beautiful. I will say your journal entry made me think a lot. I just finished reading Deepak Chopra's Seven Spiritual Laws of Success. And what you read just reminded me of what he says about how, like meditating and being able to be in communion with your spirit is a way of like cleansing your like physical self and reminding you of your inner power and like being able to access the field of like pure potentiality, as he says, and like being
Mhm.
able to connect to like the source of all things, into like kind of like that void space where anything is possible. But by meditating and by being able to regularly access that, you are routinely cleansing yourself of, say, like any negativity, or like you're reminding yourself to keep this balance in which your spiritual and your physical realities are in harmony and not warring against each other, trying to take control over your life.
Absolutely. And even in the book that I'm reading right now, The Conversations with God, the one thing that Neil received, his message that he received was, if you do not go within, you go without.
Okay, wait, bars. That deserves.
I was like, and that was God. That was God telling Neil that. And sometimes I read that book, I was like, God's a little sassy. So, oh my goodness. Also, if I'm red, I think I got sunburned. I was playing tennis yesterday. So,
You just have a rosy glow. Bro, that's actually like so funny. He's got a little sassy, like
I,
honestly, like so tea.
yeah. That was a side tangent, guys.
Yeah.
But
Maybe we should like say like what books we're currently reading. I feel like
One eternity later.
as
I,
anybody
I
does.
like I think I just like words. Like I really just like being able to consume words, and like that's why. So it's like I have books, and like so I always have a book in my bag, and that's like the one that I read like when there's like a lull at work, or like when I'm waiting someplace in public, like anything like that. I have a book on my bedside table that I go through, and then I also keep a book in the bathroom so that like I'm not scrolling on my phone. I'll just like read a book in the bathroom
Oh,
and then
you'll be like pooping
that's my
and
business.
pull out a book.
But it's like I'm doing my business but enriching my brain at the same time. So it's beautiful.
Yeah. The
But
cycle.
now that brings us back to our topic of hand, the importance of keeping ritual in a world ruled by modernity. 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 All right, so now let's get into our actual episode of the importance of keeping ritual in a world ruled by modernity. That's how you say it, I think. So I wanted to start off with the definition of what a ritual is. And this is from Google. A religious or solemn ceremony consisting of a series of actions performed according to a prescribed order. However, my personal definition is a portal to the divine that keeps us disciplined, grounded, and open.
Can I,
So, yes,
I was
go.
just like, can I add to that?
Of course you can.
Thank you. Thank you. All right. So, sorry. I'm just feeling a little giggly today. I want to add to also the definition of rituals really quick. And I know that I briefly mentioned this in one of the previous episodes as well, the difference between routines versus rituals. But rituals are intentional, they're personal, protective, they nourish the nervous system, and they're also savoring. So similar to what Joe said, and Joma, pass the baton back to you, but rituals are for basically kind of like you said, that discipline, but they're nourishing and they're nurturing to you and they make you feel good and they're intentional acts as well.
I like that. I like how you use the word savoring. I think that's a really good adjective to put there. I feel like a lot of like routine can be in that way of like, okay, like I have to go walk the dogs. I have to go. There's almost like that sense of like I have to do this versus ritual is like I get to do this. Like, oh my God, like I love the fact that I get to do this.
And it goes back to it being an intentional act for yourself as well. So there are certain rituals that I do weekly. There are certain rituals that I do before working with clients as well. So rituals can be, they're really designed for yourself and they can be for acts of self-love, but you can have different rituals for different things.
Mhm. And I also want to touch is like I grew up in the Catholic Church. So I think like I was really surrounded by ritual and stuff growing up and didn't really recognize it, but just in like the way that like Sunday Mass is orchestrated, there's specific rituals that they do, like they prepare the Eucharist. You have the whole you take your little wafer and you drink the wine. They put it in the tabernacle afterwards. And like there is like this sense, and I think that's like where the definition of from Google comes from, is that like there is this idea of like tradition and like memory keeping ingrained with ritual in itself. And I feel like a more modern take on it with ritual is like what we're saying of like, okay, like something that you do intentionally, that becomes like this portal to the present, that allows you to feel grounded and your heart is open and to be fully like present. And but I do think that keeping in mind the OG definition of like where it stems from religiously and from a religious ceremony is important because it gives you this kind of idea of like the history of the word itself and kind of like where energetically ritual lies in like this idea of like, okay, this is a formal ceremony that's being conducted to honor, like, for example, with my the example with the Catholic Church and Catholic Mass, it's like you're doing this ritual and this series of orders to honor God. Like you're preparing the body and blood of God, so of Jesus that you can take during Mass. Like you're doing this, you're presenting us in a specific way to like honor your connection to God. And then like in a similar fashion, it's like the rituals that we do are a way to honor our connection with ourselves and to maintain a connection with our spirit in the everyday. Like just like being able to draw on like the historical tradition of like ritual in religious settings is something to keep in mind when thinking of like your daily rituals and kind of like the importance and just like the energetics behind it, the intentionality behind it is like almost as this like this is an offering to God. Like it really is like that kind of like same level of seriousness because it is something that's going to allow you to connect to your spirit or connect to yourself to the present moment. And it is like it's a portal. Like rituals are literally portals of being able to access the present. And that's something that I do have a quote. So this quote is via Purple Fashion Magazine on Instagram. And the quote is from Felipe Pereno, who is an artist. And this is in the context of like art and like exhibitions. So he says, an art exhibition is also a ritual, a scenario with objects and visitors in a time and space. Art, like magic, deals with the ineffable and the appearance of phenomena that synchronize in time and space. I love this quote. This is actually from their magic issue, which is all about like magic and such. And it's also like I think like a good pivot to kind of like turn into like spellcasting and just like the history of like ritual within spellcasting and witchcraft. How like with modern day spellcasting, I think both you and I dabble with like doing spells and spell jars and such. But the intention of it is that it is this way of being able to take control of like your present reality and like set this intention for your desired outcome. And I also have another quote that like ties in line with this. This is from Cy Swoon's ritual spell and ritual guide. So her definition is a spell is the use of perception and intention to have influence over results. A ritual is a physical, tangible performance of this phenomenon. Spells can be cast without ritual, but ritual is always casting spells. So I just think that's like a nice little kind of like segue into this idea of like ritual in itself is a performance, like saying bringing it back to like the Catholic Church or the Greek Church. It is like this performance again, like of this offering to God, but you're putting on like you're orchestrating this entire thing. Like to bring about like the desired outcome. So like with the Catholic Church, it's like, okay, like we're preparing the body and blood of Christ. Like we're doing this entire performance to ensure that these physical elements of like the wine and the wafer are transmuted and transformed and become the body and blood of Christ. So that's something I just thought was like really interesting in terms of like the tying again, like another historical link with behind the idea of ritual.
I think also traditionally rituals were also, I don't know if perceived is the right word, but were intended like um in like religious ceremonies and in the
Yeah,
churches. Correct me if I'm wrong.
no, you're 100% correct.
Okay, yeah, and so as you said, like tying it back to the church, having that tradition, there's something so fascinating and beautiful behind it. And also then in today's world, if we also remove the religious or tradition factor behind it, in case like some people aren't comfortable with that, rituals are also then can be designed, as I said before, intentional acts for yourself to bring you back, as you said, to the present moment.
Mhm.
And that's also really a big thing that it boils down to as well, is bringing you back to yourself. And there's
Mhm.
nourishing acts, um, which is like the intention for rituals anyway.
Mhm. And like another thing that I have here is so like in modern times, modernity, mo
I said
that
modernity.
yes, that word pushes the idea of consumption and the falling away of tradition, while ritual is a way of memory keeping. So
Mm.
again, drawing on like the historical lineage of like ritual, it's like the Catholic Church is performing like the same ritual for centuries, like with the preparing of the body and blood of Christ. This is a way of being able to keep tradition alive and memory keeping.
Yeah.
And in the same way, say like we're taking like the more modern definition with our own personal rituals, it is a way of like memory keeping. It is a way of also like keeping time, of keeping track of time outside of like the realm of like, like a clock or like, you know what I mean? Like the numbers on your phone. For me, it's like I always start my day with like writing down a list of like gratitude and affirmations, doing my dream journal, doing yoga. And like that's a way for me of like keeping time rather than like focusing on like, say it's 9:07 a.m. It's like, okay, like, well, no, like this is my time in the morning where I get my movement practice in. Okay, this is like my time of the day where I'm gonna like sit down and journal all my feelings or like write down my dreams and such. So it is this idea of being able to not only bring you into the present, but you're also being able to keep track of time in that sense, where that you're not being pulled into the past. You're not thinking ahead of like future things, but it is this bridge. It is this portal of being able to connect these series of events in time. And like going back to that quote from Felipe Pereno, um, in the terms of like art exhibition, it's a ritual because it's with these objects and visitors in a time and space. It's synchronization of time and space.
That's lovely. Do you find that your rituals also change over time? Because I know it was something that I brought up in my class as well. And I know how you said like tradition in the church, I'm not too sure about the Catholic Church or even the Greek Church for that matter. Like that is like set in time. Like this is the thing that they consistently follow. And there's not really much change throughout. But within our personal lives, the rituals that we create for ourselves, like do you find that yours change over time and that, or do you find that they're just pretty consistent?
I will say, like how you were saying earlier, it's like when you start to feel like your ritual becomes routine, you kind of like pivot and change it up. I think I'm the same way. I do think that I'm quite headstrong with like especially my like writing and journaling in the morning. But
Mhm.
something that I'm very conscious of is like, okay, like how can I modify my rituals to meet my like my daily energetic needs?
Right.
So for example, like right now I'm in my luteal phase and like I like don't want to do shit. I just want to like lie in bed all day. So I will move my ritual of doing my movement practice later on in the day so I can take a nap. Like I can like, you know what I mean? That way I can come fully present with my practice of doing yoga versus like trying to force myself and I'm like rumbling the whole time and I'm just like irritated and then I'm like the entire spiritual essence of the practice is taken away because I'm just like in my feelings.
Exactly.
Yeah, yeah. And like, so it's just like in terms of like what I do in my day-to-day life in my rituals, because I do have quite an extensive list. I think I have shifted away from the idea of just trying to get it all done, which is like what I think like when I first kind of started keeping adhering to my rituals daily. that was the focus of like, I need to get it all done, blah, 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 blah. And like having it become more of a routine versus a ritual. And now it's more so I kind of pick and choose which ones I can do um that will allow me to, stay feeling like heart open, remaining connected to my body, and to just be in like a good space. Yeah, because like there's some days it's like, okay, if I were to do my hour of yoga before I go to work, I'm gonna be irritated as fuck because I'm gonna be running late. Then I'm like, I didn't have a chance to walk the dogs fully. I'm gonna have to walk all three of them together, and they're gonna act obnoxious. I'm gonna go to work and I'm gonna be sweaty and stinky, and I'm gonna be irritated, like you know what I mean. So it's like being able to modify it so that it does match the kind of like the energetics of the day.
Right.
And yeah, and like some days it's like if I'm like really just like, for example, when I was sick of COVID, all I fucking did was drink tea and sit outside. That was my ritual. You know what I mean? All I did was sip a big freaking mug of tea several times a day and sit outside.
Yeah, this time you were a lemur in the sun.
Yeah, I was. It was so funny because I was trying to like get like some homework done with my little tiny Chromebook outside. I'm just like trying to like soak in all the solar energy and healing the COVID from my body.
No, COVID is quite humbling. Sometimes it's like, wow, like just the amount of energy that you lose. And going back to following your cycle as well. Honestly, I think as I've gotten older, like I love to juice, and I have not been juicing maybe for the past 2 months, but I love to do like cycle syncing, like doing specific fruits and vegetables during specific parts of my cycle. Like
Mhm.
that, I wouldn't say that that's a ritual. Maybe it's like maybe it's a routine. I'm not too entirely sure. Like there is intention behind it.
Yeah. I feel like that's a ritual. I feel like that's a ritual of like honoring and nurturing your body, like throughout the cycle. I think that's something that's definitely a ritual.
And but you did bring up like honoring the energetics of the day, and it really goes back to like guys, like oh, rituals are so important, but it's also very important to honor like your energy and monitor where it's at. Like if you truly do not feel that you have the capacity to do something today, even if it is like a ritual, honor that and really honor how you feel. But at the end of the day, as you said, you have like a list of rituals, but you were talking about if you don't want to do an hour of yoga before work because you don't feel like you have the capacity to do it, then
Yeah,
don't do it.
exactly.
And um, I was gonna ask, do you prefer like morning rituals, nightly rituals? I prefer evening rituals. I have like evening rituals, I have weekly rituals, and then I have also rituals before work. And also, I will say dochi.
I love Dochi.
I know.
A lot of girls represent.
Yes, when I feel like shit or when I'm overthinking or ruminating, I will put on Doechii because her music is just so it gets me out of that ruminating or overthinking. If I'm like overthinking something that I said and I listen to her music, I'm like, you know what? I am that bitch. Like I don't need to overthink this thing. If I made a mistake, I made a mistake and that's okay. And it's just like completely shifts. Like she's a part of my ritual. When I'm doing like my somatic dance or like movement, she is one of the artists that I will put on. And
Yeah.
also Survivor slash I will survive the Glee version. That but it's like it's not. But also like with dance, and we have a whole nother topic on this too. Dance is not about like performing to look sexy. It's you're letting out all that shit. And
Yeah.
that is a part of like my ritual. Like I dance movement like every other day, but also I really like
Mhm.
stretching. But going back to, do you prefer like morning, evening rituals?
The thing is, I'm 100% a morning person. I love being able to wake up early and kind of like starting my day off intentionally. Like again, like I'm very, very adamant about doing my journaling and my writing in the morning. My movement practice, I'm okay with like adjusting that towards like later in the day or in the evening. And like say, for example, if like I'm practicing pole or I'm like more like kind of like sensual movement and stuff. I prefer to do that in the evening because I feel like that's more of like the energetic, like that matches the quality of what I'm doing. But I'm more so a morning person, especially again, like just like in terms of my work schedule. It's like I don't work in the mornings, I work in like the afternoons. And then by the time I get home, it's like that's more so of like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and like do my little chores and like getting dinner started and that kind of like stuff. Like the evening is more so like just more practical matters, while like the morning I'm like, no, this is my time. This is my me time.
Interesting. Now, what are your rituals that, if you feel comfortable sharing?
Okay. Yeah, let me pull up my list.
Like, let me pull up my list because I think this would be a really this is a good time to like I feel go over that. And also rituals don't need to be these extravagant
Mm,
things that you do for yourself, going back to it being just like intentional and personal and nourishing to you, that's all that matters. And if they change over time, that's okay. Um,
mhm.
it's just like honoring yourself.
Yeah. So like I will say that it's like my rituals are like a part of my morning routine, are part of my like daily routine, but it is something that it's like instead of just kind of like flying through it like I did previously, it's something that I do try to stay very present in while I'm doing it. So my first one is like skin and dental care. And like I like to do like my gua sha in the morning, which is just so beautiful and so nice. I just love doing like a little facial massage. I look snatched as a result. And it's just like such a way to like come and be present with my body while also like looking so hot and sexy. I do my dream archive. So I do like my dream journaling. And this is like all my writing stuff now. I do like my gratitude and affirmations. I do my stream of consciousness writing, and then I do my journaling. So they're
Isn't
like my what?
well, I was asked stream of consciousness, isn't that like there's just like one book that also bringing back Dochi back up. Like she read this book before. She also really it's something about like art and creativity. I don't know the name of the book. Do you know the book that she referenced?
I think it's the artist way. I actually have that on my coffee table right now because that's the next kind of like spiritual thing that I'm gonna do for my because another part of my journaling is my spiritual knowledge. So like I like to read like a book about spirituality or something and then like take notes and stuff from it. So that's actually the book that I'm gonna start next because I just finished the seven spiritual laws of success.
I do want to read that book too. The
It's literally like so tiny. It's like less than 100 pages. You could finish it in like an hour.
well, that one, but I'm talking about the one
Oh, the
that
artist.
yes, because I
Yeah,
think
yeah.
yeah, the not automatic writing, stream of consciousness writing
Hmm.
that thing.
So yeah, stream of consciousness writing, like that's something that I've heard like so many like creators and stuff talk about, and like Clarice Lispector, who's like an author that I love. She's a Portuguese writer, and she, like her work is very much stream of consciousness. It's like whatever kind of like flew into her head. But what's great about it is that like with stream of consciousness, it's like there is like no editing. There really isn't kind of like conscious thinking about it. You're just putting like words on a page and then being able to be like, okay, like wow, okay, that,
Hmm.
that's pretty cool. And I like it just because there's I forgot who it is. I don't remember the creators who came up with this, but like doing like 3 pages of stream of consciousness writing. So just like it allows you to kind of just like get those creative juices going. Like keeping to a regular practice, but like you're working out the kinks and you're allowing yourself just to express yourself fully without self-editing or censorship.
But another thing added to that, and I learned about this as well, is when you do that, it allows for more information. Like when you let out all of your thoughts, no matter what it is, like it doesn't even have to make sense. When you do that, you allow obviously more things to
Mhm.
enter your mind, but then you can also start to remember things that you have forgotten as well.
I actually didn't know about that. That's good to know.
With all of that being said. Anyways, continue. Sorry, Joe.
That's okay. And then I do my prayers, which are perhaps like my favorite ritual of the entire day. I like sit on my altar and I talk to my ancestors and I do my daily prayers and I do my um well, like not daily, but every other day I do a tarot reading to kind of reflect on the energy of the day and like what is the message for me? How can I integrate um spirit and like remaining in my heart space and like being able to harness the energies of the day to achieve that result. Then I have my movement stuff, which is I like to stretch to get into my body with also like somatic movement. So just kind of like, jumping around, all that kind of stuff. Then I like to do my yoga and then I like to do like a little workout. And then after that, I like to do meditation. And I also have like my hydrating, my like watering my plants and doing my pet care. I like to brush my dog's teeth and take them on long walks. And then I also have my rest ritual, which is I get to take a nap every single day, even if it's just for 10 or 15 minutes. I have to take a nap every single day, guys. So important to me. Rest is resistance. Thank you to Jersey for teaching
Jo,
me the value of that.
Jo and Trisha wrote this book, guys.
No, let me not take credit at all because she is just a beautiful, wonderful. It's such a everybody needs to read this book, guys. You need to read it. Please, if there's one book that you pick up this year, let it be Rest is Resistance, a manifesto by Trisha Hersey. Thank you so much, Trisha, for just like your knowledge and offering to this world.
No, but also really quick after that meditation that I had too, and after I got this book, I told one of my clients about it, and then my friend who got me the Complete Conversations with God book, and they were like, I'm adding it to my cart.
Yeah. No, but it's
So,
like so good. It's like, because I feel like everybody, like we live in a capitalist society, like everybody struggles with like burnout and like, always feeling like you never have enough time for yourself. And like, what it like basically, how can you kind of like fight the patriarchy, fighting a capitalist supremacist like society? And like, I love her answer, which is like rest. It's a subversive practice. It doesn't require you to like going to the protest or things like that. Like, it's a way that's accessible to literally everybody, even if it's like you're taking a nap for 5-10 minutes a day. Maybe it's for me, sometimes when I'm on my period, 3 hours a day. You know what I mean? Like, it's just something that allows you. And like the way that she ties in her concept of dream space, because she says that revolution is imagination work, like being able to rest, giving yourself the opportunity to dream new ways of being, to dream a new future. That's just as important as doing the physical work of bringing that future into reality. So love her, love it. Everybody needs to be taking daily naps. That's like the point of that part. And then I also just have like, in terms of like the rest of like my daily routine rituals, is like schoolwork, reading, and then creative time. That's like maybe dancing or like practicing guitar. And then have my nighttime self-care. So that's I don't know if it's going to show you. No, it's not my list, but there's a whole bunch of things on there. And then I also have like weekly stuff that I do on there as well. But yeah.
that no, I sort of an itch in my back.
No, but I think that's like a good transition into ritual ideas. Like, that's like, I feel like mine is like so intense and like OCD with like all the different things that I feel like I need to do in my day to day. But like, again, like Desi was saying earlier, like a ritual can be anything intentional that's going to allow you to just be like fully present in the moment. And like the thing is like your daily routine can be rituals, like they can be one in both, in that you treat your routine as an opportunity to come into the present, to access the spiritual core that is always there for you. And that's like why, like, yeah, that's like my daily routine, but it is my rituals because I'm using it as an opportunity to commune with my spirit, to come into myself, and to be very intentional about the way that I spend my day.
I love.
So,
Oh, that was beautifully put.
mm,
Excuse me.
yeah.
And I remember you showing me, I think you showed me that list like the night that you spent the night, and you were like, we were talking about what kind of we wanted to go over in like the first initial podcast episode. And as Joe was saying, like you don't need to have like a long list. Like if it works for some people to have a long list, like that's okay. And some people you just maybe need a few things to do. But as we were both saying, like those intentional acts for yourself and communing with spirit and bringing you back to the present moment, that's really what this is about as well.
I also wanted to touch on, like, I do have like rituals that I do monthly. So in terms of like every new moon, I do a whole altar reset. So it's like I like clean my altar, dust all my crystals, like refresh everything. And I love that because I feel like towards like the end of the month, I can kind of get like a little bit like lazy when it comes to like doing my prayers and being very consistent with it. And then once I do like my whole altar reset, it's like a breath of fresh air. Like, oh, all this like life has been brought forth back through my altar. And then full moons, I used to do this. I haven't been able to start it since I've moved because I don't have like a gate on like my patio and stuff, so anybody could come onto my patio at the moment. But I used to always do a like whole full moon. Like put all my crystals outside and do an offering outside and just kind of like sit and meditate and stuff. But I would set up a whole crystal grid with my crystals every full moon, and like kind of like that way they could be blessed with full moon energy. And what were you gonna say?
Yeah, I was gonna say that the meeting was about to end.
That's okay. Yes, this like podcast is so DIY. We refuse to pay for a premium subscription to Zoom, so that's why our meetings get cut short after I think what 20 minutes, and we have to do another Zoom recording. So
Yeah. But to go back to I forgot what you were saying, but I was like, because the file was like converting, but essentially, like
oh,
after ritual. Oh, go
oh,
ahead.
sorry, no, I think I remembered. It was like I was talking about like the full moon ritual, and then I feel like you were about to say something, and then time.
Oh no, what I was about to say was that we have less than a minute, and then you were when you said, "What are you gonna say?" I was I was gonna say we have less than a minute, and then that's when it ended. Um, but I was gonna say like for me, like after rituals for me, the gratitude that I feel, it's like for ex for example, I mean, I'm grateful in general and I'm very optimistic about the future and like what's to come, but it's like even after a ritual specifically, I'm like, wow, I'm so grateful that I was even able to do this and like be in this space and hold space for myself and show up for myself in the way that I want to. It's just such a beautiful thing. And then it adds on to the gratitude that you already have. And I don't know if you feel similar to that or what's your take and your experience on that.
I literally feel like I'm high after I like in particular like my like again like my favorite ritual of the day is doing my prayers. It's like because I really like I sit down and like for like 30 minutes it's just like I talk to my ancestors and I pray and like I get filled with just such like pure energy. Like half the time I'm like overjoyed with like tears because of just how I feel so grateful. Like today I was crying because I'm just like wow, like I love I love my life. I'm so grateful that this life is possible through like like the protection of my ancestors and my spirit guides and my guardian angels. It's like I have just such an abundant life filled with like love and connection all because of them, and I'm so grateful for that I get literally like just overwhelmed with gratitude because of how thankful I am. So yeah, like I definitely feel like anytime I'm just kind of like with my rituals, like there is always like afterwards the sense of like like thank God, like thank you for this. Like I'm so glad I was able to do this for sure.
I I honestly kind of want to get more in touch with my roots. Like my mom's side of the family is Spartan and my dad's side of the family is Icarian, and we usually go and visit Ikaria throughout like when we go back to Greece and visit family. But I was like I want to connect to my Spartan roots because I feel like and like with my ancestors from Sparta just because I'm like this is Sparta. You know what I mean? I'm like
I will say it's like like I'm half Filipino, half British, and I feel like, like I don't really have too much knowledge, I feel like with the Filipino side I have a lot more like connection because I grew up with the Filipino side of my family, but even so it's like I am like a second generation, like I don't speak Tagalog, like I'm very Americanized and such, but that's why I really am so grateful for the opportunity to speak to my ancestors at my altar because it is like this line of direct connection, to my heritage. And something that I do advise is just like, I don't know if you have any pictures of like your ancestors or pictures of your family. I have pictures of like all my relatives like on my altar. And like, again, it's just about reinforcing that connection with my family. Another thing that I actually started doing too was well, I have one book right now, but I have like five others in my Amazon cart, but just about like the mythology and folklore of like traditional Filipino culture. And I feel like that was like another way of being able to kind of like get more in touch with like more historical roots versus me as a very like white ass Americanized
it's
second generation Filipino.
yeah, I mean, I think there's something also very, and I'm going to use the term empowering when you are connected back to your roots and your heritage. It's just like, especially if you, I mean, I'm trying to find like the right words, but growing up, I felt more connected to my roots. Like I never kind of lost touch with that, but I've kind of, as I
Yeah.
started like, paving my own path, I was like, figuring out who I was, like growing up and where it was that I wanted to go. And I had to reconnect back with then my faith once again. Not that I ever lost my faith, but it was reconnecting with that. And then at this point in my life, again, I wanted to reconnect with my heritage and with my roots and like my ancestors. So for example, for like honoring my great grandmother, she passed away when I was a baby, but there's this saint, Ayos Nectarios, and he's in a specific neck of the woods from Greece. And like each, I guess, I believe saint has their own, they have their own like church. And my mom actually got this from me. I'm gonna share it. I know, like, hold on. I have my tarot cards right there, but this is Ayos Nectarios. And like specifically what he stands for, um, is like philosophy and just like all these specific things. Like he was this very like I guess like open-minded saint, and I was like everything that he resembled, a lot of the things that he believes in is like stuff that I believe in too. And so I keep that here to honor my great grandmother. But just like being in touch with your ancestors and your roots, you feel that sense of almost security.
Mhm.
And there's something very like you're like, I am protected in this
Yeah,
space.
100%. And I feel like again, like thinking about like chakras, it's like I feel like it's very opening of like your crown chakra with like being connected to the divine, but also your root chakra because like that's your family. That's like your actual roots.
Yeah.
So, and I feel like it's a good time to kind of like end and close this episode. But I would love to hear about, our listeners. What are your rituals? Or like, say if you don't have any, like what rituals are you going to implement into your daily life? Like, I am just so intrigued and would love to just hear all about that.
Yeah, go ahead and write what it is that your rituals and maybe even routines, and you can get inspiration from other people that are also commenting below. And if this is the start of your journey, we're excited to see where this goes for you. And if you're already in this journey of creating rituals for yourself, let us know how they make you feel. Have they changed over time? Um, but yeah, so thank you guys for tuning in.
All right, listening to us yap and ramble on. Yes, thank you so much for listening.
All right.
See you soon.